Hi everyone, in just under a decade, e-cigarette use among high school students went from nearly zero to being declared an epidemic by the US Surgeon General. Today, I will present a research-based overview of youth vaping, examining its background, current statistics, health implications, and policy responses. So what is vaping? Before we dive into the data, let's clarify that we're talking about vaping, what we're talking about. Vaping devices, technically called electronic nicotine delivery systems, heat a liquid containing nicotine, propylene glycol, vegetable glycerin, and flavorings into an aerosol that users inhale. Unlike the misconception that it's just water vapor, this aerosol contains numerous harmful chemicals. Today's most popular brands among teens include Juul, Vuse, and newer disposable devices like Elf Bar and Geek Bar. The scope of the problem. Why does adolescent vaping deserve our attention? Adolescence is a critical window for brain development that continues until around age 25. Nicotine exposure during this period can cause long-term disruptions to memory, attention, and executive functioning. Since 2014, vaping has been the most commonly used tobacco product among youth, and it cuts across every socio-economic group, influenced by social media, peer pressure, and product access. Current statistics. Let's look at the numbers. In 2011, only about 1.5% of high school students reported vaping. That number skyrocketed to 27.5% by 2019, prompting public health officials to declare a youth vaping epidemic. Since then, rates have declined due to policy interventions and public awareness, but they remain concerning. Current estimates from 2025 placed past month use at around 8% among high schoolers, which still represents more than 1.6 million young people. Recent trends and new developments. The vaping landscape continues to evolve. Recent CDC Foundation data reveals that more than 1/3 of youth who vape, 37%, report using smart vapes with digital screens and even built-in games. Among 13 to 17-year-old vapers, that number jumps to nearly 40%. We're also seeing the rise of nicotine pouches like Zyn, with teen use doubling since 2021 to about 2%. And crucially, flavors remain the primary driver of youth uptake. Fruit, candy, and mint flavors make these products deliberately appealing to young people. International context. This isn't just an American problem. Worldwide, about 9% of adolescents vape. In Canada, 15% of students in grades 7 through 12 reported past month use in 2023 to 2024. Perhaps the most concerning is a 2025 Dutch study of 13 to 15-year-olds that reveals the depth of nicotine dependence. 80% started with e-cigarettes, 70% use both vapes and cigarettes, 77% vape during school hours, and 35% wake up at night to use nicotine. Nearly 2/3 report health complaints they attribute directly to vaping. Health effects, what we know. Now for the crucial analysis, what does the research actually tell us about the health effects? The evidence is mounting. Adolescent vapers report higher rates of chronic cough, wheezing, and bronchitis symptoms. A large study found that daily vapers had 39% higher odds of asthma compared to non-users. And we cannot forget the 2019 EVALI outbreak that hospitalized over 2,800 young people and killed 68. Cardiovascularly, nicotine increases heart rate and blood pressure and is associated with arterial stiffness, effects that may have lifelong consequences. Brain development and addiction. The adolescent brain is uniquely vulnerable to nicotine. Research shows that nicotine exposure during this critical period disrupts memory, attention, and executive function. It alters reward pathways, making lifelong addiction more likely and potentially priming the brain for addiction to other substances. The 2025 Dutch study I mentioned earlier found that among youth who vape, 47% do so daily, 41% consider themselves addicted, and while 60% have tried to quit, more than 3/4 of those attempts failed. These are not casual users, they are dependent. Mental health connections. The relationship between vaping and mental health is complex and bidirectional. A 2025 longitudinal study found that adolescents who vape have nearly double the odds of mood disorders and 11 times the odds of alcohol and drug problems. Importantly, vaping predicted new onset mental health conditions over a 2-year follow-up. Other research links vaping to depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, and impulsivity. While we cannot definitively say vaping causes mental illness, the correlation is strong and the direction of effects likely runs both ways. Industry tactics, history repeating itself. History repeating itself, the same tactics big tobacco used for decades, bright colors, candy flavors, and cool imagery are now being deployed by the vape industry. But the industry has evolved. A 2025 report presented at the World Conference on Tobacco Control revealed that companies are now using the metaverse, NFTs, and gaming sponsorships to reach youth audiences. One researcher warns, they're way ahead of us. We're still trying to understand social media, but they're already operating in unregulated spaces like the metaverse. Policy responses. What works? What about policy solutions? Research on state flavor bans reveals an important nuance. Bans work best when they are comprehensive. A 2025 study comparing states with different policies found that Massachusetts, which banned both flavored e-cigarettes and menthol cigarettes, had the highest rate of quitting among dual users. 9% quit both products, compared to just 3% in states with no bans. States that only banned e-cigarette flavors saw reduced vaping, but some users simply switched to menthol cigarettes. This suggests that partial bans may be less effective. Prevention and education efforts. On the prevention side, there is good news. The FDA's Real Cost campaign, which began focusing on e-cigarettes in 2017, has reached about 3/4 of youth and is estimated to have prevented more than 440,000 young people from starting to vape. The most effective campaigns use authentic messaging that respects teens' intelligence, avoiding generic patronizing content. Newer campaigns are using social media narratives formats to encounter nicotine pouch marketing. The key is meeting young people where they are with messages that resonate. Discussion. Synthesis of key findings. Let's synthesize what we've learned. While vaping rates have declined from their 2019 peak, they remain concerning, especially given high levels of addiction we're seeing with daily use and even nighttime use becoming common. The health effects are real and documented. Respiratory problems, cardiovascular changes, and mental health associations. Meanwhile, the industry continues to evolve, moving into digital spaces where regulations haven't caught up. Policy research suggests that comprehensive flavor bans can work, but they need to be broad to prevent substitution. Conclusions. So what does this mean? First, youth vaping is not benign. It carries real health risks. Second, addiction is happening faster than many realize, with high rates of daily use and failed quit attempts. Third, industry tactics continue to evolve, and regulation must keep pace. Fourth, prevention efforts can work. The FDA's campaigns alone have prevented hundreds of thousands of initiations. Finally, we need multifaceted solutions. As one public health official noted, kids who know that one parent in their home cares showed remarkably reduced rates across all substances. The presence of a trusted, engaged adult matters. Final thoughts. In closing, addressing youth vaping requires balanced, evidence-based action. We must remain objective, acknowledging that while e-cigarettes may have harm reduction potential for adults trying to quit smoking, their risks to youth are substantial and well documented. We need comprehensive policies, robust education, accessible cessation resources, and ongoing research. This is an evolving issue. New products will continue to emerge, and our responses must evolve with them. Thank you for watching my presentation.